Mary, the mother of Jesus, was a 12-year-old girl. As a young woman, she would not have been taught what we call the Old Testament. She wouldn't have known the 365 prophecies that the Old Testament contains about the Messiah, God's chosen one. She lived in a very small northern rural village, Nazareth, with a population probably of about only 400 people, where everyone knew everyone else and knew everyone else's business. God seemingly hadn't spoken now for 400 years. 400 years of radio silence from the heavens. And yet, on a very ordinary day, in a very ordinary place, God spoke. An angel appeared to Mary, and the future of the entire human race rested in the hands of this child bride from Palestine. It's tempting to think that the world now is very different to the world of Mary's. And in some ways it is. We can travel further, we can know more, and we can travel faster than perhaps at any point in human history. But if we're honest, it's still a world of pain and violence, war and suffering, just like first century Palestine. Sadly, too similar to 21st century Palestine and Israel. One writer, Fleming Rutledge, puts it this way. Human history, she says, is the same thing over and over. Rebellion and violence and killing and death over and over and over. Left to ourselves, she says, the Christmas dinner would end in disaster every time. But we're not left to ourselves. Something has moved. God has moved to us. Life in rural Judea in northern Israel was harsh, tough and straightforward. There were clear rules for life and death. Jewish culture let you know exactly where you stood. Economics was simpler. You ate what you grew and you looked after your own. Family was important and honour was incredibly important. A good match in marriage could mean the difference between life or hunger, poverty and death. The wrong choice in marriage could mean ruin, dishonour, shame and even death. Which makes the events described in Luke in chapter 1 all the more startling. We read in Luke 1 verses 26 and 27, in the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth, a town in Galilee, to a virgin pledged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of David. The virgin's name was Mary. In first century Palestine, betrothal was taken incredibly seriously. There were no engagement shoots on Facebook or Instagram, but a legally binding agreement between the two families, which only divorce or death could break. Mary would probably have been a pre-teen, 12, 13 years of age, a child bride promised to an older man, a master carpenter called Joseph, someone with royal lineage. His "Who Do You Think You Are" episode would have been brilliant. Joseph was a really good catch. It would have meant economic security for Mary and her family for years to come. The angel's words, though, greatly trouble her. She's disturbed, but responds thoughtfully, practically. How can this be? But also she responds with obedience to God. And so this Advent, how might we respond to what God is saying to us? It's okay to question, just like Mary did, but we also need to move to obedience. That was the challenge for Mary and remains the challenge for you and for me this Advent.